Hi everyone, welcome to a new video going through the PMI's 5th edition of the Standard for Program Management. This is Project Management Illustrated and me, Ahmed Aimer. Today we continue our talk about the Governance Framework Performance domain. In the last video we quickly covered the Governance Framework purpose and definition. Today we aim to cover Governance Framework practices. These are the established practices by the organization to ensure governance is maintained within the executed programs. I'm sure you have interacted with some of these practices, if not all of them, during your day-to-day program management activities. But before we dive in, I want to quickly apologize for the recent silence on the channel. I have been tied up with the studies and some personal matters that needed my full attention. Thanks so much for your patience and continued support. It truly means a lot. I am now working on bringing you fresh content more regularly, so stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to join me in this journey. There are 10 defined practices under the Governance Framework Performance domain as per the PMI's 5th edition of the Standard for Program Management. These are Program Governance Plan, Governance Framework and Organizational Vision and Goals, Program Approval, Endorsement and Definition, Program Monitoring, Reporting and Controlling, Program Risk and Issue Governance, Program Quality Governance, Program Change Governance, Governance Framework Reviews, Program Component Initiation and Transition, and finally, Program Closure. These 10 practices show us that the governance framework practices are nothing rather than a structured set of activities designed to ensure that a program remains aligned with organizational strategy while it delivers intended benefits and operates within defined boundaries. Let's start now with the first practice, Program Governance Plan. The Program Governance Plan is the plan that outlines how different organizations define and implement their program governance framework, functions, and processes. It is the organization decision to keep the governance plan as a standalone or a part of the program management plan. It's also the organization decision to follow the same governance plan for all their programs or develop a dedicated governance plan for each program. Do you remember when we talked about how any program plan is basically just a guide for how everything should be managed and carried out? Program governance plan is there to tell us, program managers, the systems and methods used to monitor, manage, or support any program in the organization. It also spells out who is in charge of making sure those systems and methods are used properly and on time. The program governance plan should be easy to access throughout the entire program, so it can guide the program team in taking decisions and ensuring that everything stays in line with agreed upon rules and expectations. In simple English, the governance plan is not set in stone. It is a living document that can change as the program evolves. And whenever updates are made, everyone involved in running or overseeing the program should be kept across these amendments. Now, we move to the second practice, governance framework and organizational vision and goals. Do you remember how many times we stressed on the importance of keeping the program aligned with organizational strategy throughout the program lifecycle? Similarly, PMI reminds us that any program within the area of authority of the governance framework must define their own vision and goals in a way that supports those of the organization. We look to the organization's vision and goals as our compass, They steer every decision we make. They provide the basis for strategic directives that lead the definitions of most programs. Now we come to the third practice: program approval, endorsement, and definition. I think most of you, if not everyone, would agree with me that any program must be approved before its formal start. We discussed this before when we talked about programs business case. At that time, we made it clear that programs are subject to termination if their business case was not approved by the governance board. Such approvals occur in the program definition phase. It's the governance framework that outlines responsibility for approving each program's approach and plan for how this program will achieve its organizational goals. The governance framework also authorizes the use of resources to support program components and any other program work. In addition to what we just said, the governance framework facilitates program funding as outlined in the approved business case. Program funding is typically managed internally alongside other concurrent initiatives within the organization. However, to be effective, funding should be allocated in a way that aligns with both the specific needs of the program and the broader organizational priorities. These priorities are generally established through the organization's portfolio management processes, which we covered earlier. Please note that the Program Steering Committee is responsible for securing external funding and entering any necessary agreements to obtain it. It is safe to assume that in similar cases, the funding may have constraints that limit its use due to laws, regulations, or other limitations. Now we move to the next practice: program monitoring, reporting, and controlling. You may notice that the sequence PMI follows here makes a lot of sense as we just talked about the program approvals and funding. So moving now to execution and controlling is somehow expected. When it comes to monitoring and controlling any program while continue its reporting, there are a space for tailoring. This tailoring is usually done by the governance participants working hand in hand with the program manager. Their target is capturing all opportunities throughout the delivery of the program's benefits while meeting organizational goals. We usually find organizations define a set of standardized reporting and controlling processes applicable to all programs. A good example of these standards and controls is earned value management. If you are a PMP accredited, then you must be familiar with the earned value set of formulas. These standards and processes are nothing rather than the organization's pursuit to monitor programs' progress and status while adhering to organizational controls. The governance board are often responsible for enforcing program compliance with such processes. Program reporting often cover the following: operational status and the progress of programs, its components, and related activities. The program resource requirements, either planned or allocated. Identified program risks, their response plans, and agreed escalation criteria. Assumptions, whether they are strategic or operational. Realized benefits and expected sustainment. Programs decision-making criteria, the tracking and communication of these decisions in addition to program change control. Compliance with corporate and legal policies. Program information management. Issues and issue response plans. And finally, program funding and financial performance or tracking. As we can observe, out of these 10 elements, 5 of them can be summoned in the word RIDAC, which stands for risks, issues, decisions, assumptions and/or actions, and changes. These tend to stand as the most critical components of any program performance reporting. I personally consider the word RIDAC as the evolution of the abbreviation RAID, which some of you might be familiar with. RAID stands for risks, assumptions and/or actions, issues, and decisions. The fifth practice we have now is program risk and issue governance. Again, this one makes perfect sense in terms of sequencing. We started with the overall program governance. Therefore, was the program governance plan. Then, we can just rush into programs governance without passing first through the organization framework, vision, and goals. After that, it was okay to start talking about programs approvals and definition, followed by their monitoring and reporting. As an integral part of any program conduct, risks and issues governance is natural to follow programs execution. I hope this makes sense for you as well, as it's much easier to understand than to memorize. This understanding should help you out whether you are studying for the PgMP exam or just getting some information to help you out with your day-to-day program management work. Risks and Issues Governance Framework is the rules for managing risks and issues. The governance framework helps make sure critical issues are escalated quickly and dealt with on time. There are usually two levels of escalation. Internal, which is inside the program among component teams, the program management team, and the program steering committee. The purpose of this type of escalation is usually resolving challenges within the program itself while keeping things on track. Good examples of this escalation is when it's required to have tactical decisions or situations of resource conflicts or delivery risks or possible dependencies between teams. External escalation occurs outside the program among the program management team, the program's steering committee, subject matter experts, and other stakeholders. The purpose of the external escalation is usually addressing risks that go beyond the program's control and require broader input or authority. This can occur when it comes to strategic risks, policy conflicts, or funding issues. No matter where the risk starts, program, portfolio, and organizational risks can trickle down and affect subsidiary programs, projects, and program components. Sometimes risks in a program don't just add up. They can actually multiply or become more serious when different teams are working on separate parts of the program. This means the overall risk can be worse than it looks when you only consider each part on its own. To manage this properly, the organization should have clear rules about when and how teams report problems or risks. These rules help make sure the right decision makers get involved at the right time to keep things under control and achieve the required governance. The organization may set limits on how much risk is allowed in the program. These limits are called risk thresholds, and everyone working on the program is expected to follow them. The limits depend on how much risk the organization is willing to accept, known as the organization's risk appetite, and in coordination with the organization's governance and program management teams. Quality governance plays a critical role in ensuring programs' success. As quality management planning is usually handled by individual teams or components within the program, it's governed at the exact level. The people responsible for governance have the job of reviewing and approving how each team plans to manage quality. They also make sure there are clear standards in place for how quality will be measured, documented, and reported, so that everyone knows what good looks like and how it will be tracked throughout the program. Again, as this point is important, quality management planning is often performed at the component level. Therefore, it's governed at that level. The governance framework is key to deciding whether changes to the program can go ahead or not. The program steering committee or another appropriate body within the organization decides which types of changes the program manager can approve on their own and which ones are too important to require further discussion prior to approval. We talked in the last video that governance is responsible for setting the scale of such situations. Thanks to ongoing monitoring, reporting, and controlling, the governance participants are in a good position to review and assess any proposed changes to the program's plans or activities. Accordingly, which action would be appropriate to take as per the in place governance framework. When a change is proposed, the program manager assesses whether the risks involved are acceptable or even beneficial, whether the change can realistically be carried out and supported, and whether it's big enough so it requires an approval from the portfolio management body if the program is part of a portfolio, or another suitable governing body if it is a standalone program. If the change doesn't need approval, the program manager puts forward a recommendation to the governance participants via the program steering committee. In other words, you as a program manager has to present your recommendations to the steering committee, not just ask for their decision without doing your part. Please note that the Program Steering Committee's power to approve changes is limited by what's set out in the program business case and the organizational strategy. Accordingly, one can say that even the Program Steering Committee doesn't necessarily have unlimited authority. Finally, it's the program team responsibility to record every proposed change along with the reasons behind it and the associated outcomes. This can be a very basic activity, but sometimes it's good to cover the basics. Now let's jump to governance reviews. The governance framework supports reviewing programs at key decision points throughout the program lifecycle. These reviews take place when a major part of the program begins or ends, allowing governance to decide whether the program should move forward to the next phase. It's safe to tie these events with program milestones and or phases. Reviews often take place at the end of program phases. At these key decision points, governance also checks if any changes are needed and approves or disapproves them. Accordingly, these reviews help ensure that each program phase or segment only proceeds with proper approvals. This process includes phase gate reviews, which are formal reviews at the end of a program phase. During a phase gate review, governance decides whether to continue to the next phase, adjusting the course of action and continue with the changes, or stop the program or part of it. It's implied that conducting reviews offers the program steering committee an opportunity whether to continue supporting the program as it is or suggest changes to its strategy. These reviews help improve the program's ability to achieve its intended benefits by allowing the committee to confirm its direction or recommend adaptive changes when needed. Please also note that sometimes a decision point review may lead to terminate the program. For example, if it's unlikely for a program to deliver its intended benefits, or if the required investment can't be supported, or if a portfolio review decides the program should no longer continue. How often program reviews happen and what these reviews should include can depend on how much freedom the program team has to manage and oversee the program. In other words, it's implied that frequent governance reviews may indicate less opportunity for the program team to independently manage their program and vice versa. The organization's expectations for these governance framework reviews should be clearly outlined in the program governance plan. Please note that program periodic health checks are used between decision point reviews to assess how well the program is performing and whether it's on track to realize and sustain its intended benefits. These reviews become especially important when there is a long time between planned decision point reviews. The next governance practice is program component initiation and transition governance. We need to know that before starting any new component of a program managers must get program steering committee approval to the degree that this component initiation needs new governance structures to oversee and manage the component and requires a strong commitment of organizational resources to complete the component. The program manager usually puts forward the proposal seeking authorization to initiate the new component. Approval to begin a new program component usually involves developing, modifying, or reconfirming the business case, confirming that resources are available to carry out the component, defining or reconfirming who is accountable for managing and delivering the component, sharing key information about the component with key stakeholders, setting up quality control plans specific to the component at the program level, authorizing the governance structure to monitor the component's progress and goals. The question now is how this new component can be managed. The answer is dependent on what kind of component it is. If it is a project, it should follow project management principles and practices which can be found in the PMBOK guide. If it's another type of program, it should follow the principles described in this standard itself. Keep an eye on the following 2 points as the PgMP exam may include questions about them or even more than one. When a new component is initiated, all related program level documentation and records must be updated to ensure any changes. Approval is usually needed when transitioning or closing a program component. The review process of closing or transitioning a program component typically includes confirming the business case has been met or deciding to stop pursuing the component's goals. Communicating the closure clearly to key stakeholders at the program levels. Checking compliance with any required program level quality control plans, reviewing lessons learned and knowledge transfer from the component's performance, confirming that all accepted practices for project or program transition or closure have been followed. Now we come to the last governance practice for today. The Program Steering Committee plays a key role when taking decision of a program's closure. The steering committee reviews recommendations and check if the original reasons for starting the program, which may be called the warranting conditions, have been met. The steering committee also makes sure that any recommendation to close the program aligns with the organization's vision, mission, and strategy. In other words, the decision must support the current direction and goals of the business. We mentioned before that sometimes a program may need to be terminated not because it failed, but because the organization's strategy or external environment has changed. These changes might reduce the expected benefits or eliminate the need for the program altogether. No matter why the program is being closed, whether it's completed successfully or early terminated, the closure procedures must be followed. This is part of the established governance to wrap up the program properly. During program closure, it's crucial to shift from program governance to operational governance. How the program was managed will diminish against how ongoing operations will manage the outcomes. This transition directly affects how well the program's benefits were achieved and will be sustained. Finally, a program report is prepared and must be approved by governance participants. This report summarizes the program's performance outcomes and lessons learned. I know it has been a bit of a gap, but I appreciate you sticking around. If you have got any questions or thoughts, whether it is about the channel, the content, or just something on your mind, feel free to drop them in the comments and I will do my best to get back to each of you. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time to hit that button. Take care and keep learning. Bye for now.